Hello, today we are going to do a monochromatic design. So that's really easy, especially if you are beginning, to just choose your favorite color, and you probably want one on a darker shade so that you can lighten it down 3 shades and then just white as your highlight. So this pattern here is not the one we are doing, but just to show you, so it's done in pink monochromatic, so you can see the dark. I've used a dark shade sometimes on the bottom and sometimes in the middle, so you can mix it up. I could have gone and put darker on the pink there or white. So you can have a little bit of fun when you're just playing around with monochromatic, and it's a great way to learn your tools and just have a bit more freedom with what you're doing on your design. So we are going to do a design in purple. So I'm going to show you how to mix your colors. So I've chosen lavender, and I probably will need to put a little bit of white into that as well. Now I prefer using the little tubs. However, you can just do this on a plate. But I reuse all my paints a lot now, so I can mix them in the tub, and if they go a little bit thick, then I can easily add some pouring medium to it just to thin it up. So I'm just going to put that in there. Now I'm actually going to add just a little bit of white to this one, only because I know that it may dry too dark and it won't show up on my black background. Now I prefer to, I'm just going to add a little bit of white to that one, but I prefer to add the white and then add my drops of colour, because it's easier to darken it up than to keep trying to lighten it. So, and you can count, you might just count your drops that you put in. Put about 6-7ish drops in there. I'm just going to go with 2 drops for that one, and we'll see what it mixes up like. So colours that are quite dark, like I said, just add a touch of white to it, just to see if that helps it to show up a bit more on the black. So if you are going to be doing this pattern, choose a colour that's a little bit out of your comfort zone that you might not necessarily paint with. And give yourself a little bit of a challenge. Alright, so I can already see that that needs a little bit more purple or lavender, whatever colour it is. I'm just going to add I'll just go with the lighter one and see what happens. Let's see if I need a little bit more in that one. So it's up to you. You might have the gradients not much difference at all. I think I still will just add a little bit more to that one. This is just my way of doing it. You may do it the opposite way, or you may have seen someone else mixing them like that. This is just one the way I found it a bit easier for myself, because I can get white paint easy, not necessarily all the colours I need, so it wastes less. We might still just do a little touch more. Probably should have just done half and half. And I may just go use what's on my mixing, and I'm just using a rod, dotting rod, to mix that. And I think that will be a good gradient. And then of course we'll use white as well. Okay, so I have drawn up my template using a ruler and a compass. I just find that a lot more accurate and neater. Templates are fine as well. And I'll just be using the swirly flat-ended tools and rounded ones. You may have the white ones from Happy Dotting Company or another brand, and that is fine. So size may vary just a little bit. Just use your intuition of what size to use. So I'm going to go with a dark center circle using the yellow swirly dotting tool. And get that in the best I can. I'm just going to do a gradient design out to start with, so a bit more of a fuller center. And going, whoops, that's not white, that's the purple. Going with the white first. And I'm going to go with my white swirly dotting tool with a rounded edge. Now, just for that first circle, I like to do 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and that one probably needs just a little bit more on it. And I turn it to fit. I mean face me, not fit. I was thinking about I need to fit that other dot in the middle. I just find this aligns it easier at that first stage, getting that first circle, so it ends up quite a nice circle instead of a square. And then you can go back around and add those other dots in between. So we get that nice center circle happening. So from there, I'm going to do the blue tool. And we're just going to go in between each of those white ones that we've just done. Now I'm just going to work it on the side here so you can easily see, but when I'm actually dotting myself, I like to have it facing me, like aligned with where I can actually see it line up. So let's just see how this works. Now if you're still a little bit worried about your spacing, you can do some smaller lines to start with. So like do them some 1/2 centimeter lines as well. That way you can line up your next layer. On the guidelines. A little bit out, but that's okay. You don't really notice when you look at it at the end. So it's only just a touch shade difference there, but will make a difference once it's all together and you see the colours. And the next one I'm going to go to is a green dotting tool, always using the big end at the moment. Next shade, and again we're just going in between, and you can now use this next circle as a guideline to help you. Alright, then we'll go to dark purple, and we'll go with the flat end tool, the smallest one, the clear, and that can now sit on the outside of that line in between the dots. Actually quite liking these purples, they're pretty. Now here's where you can either do one of two things. You could do all of your dots in the dark purple now and layer it, or you can mix it up. So I'm going to just mix it up a little bit. I'm going to go with my in between purple colour and going up to the purple tool, twirly tool, and I'm just going to put a dot so that it's on the guidelines, but sort of the circular one is going halfway through it as well. And then I'm going to come in with the dark purple, and I think go up to the pink tool, and that's going to go in between those ones, but up on the next lot of guidelines. So I don't know if you notice, sometimes I bounce my tool a little bit. That just sort of gets rid of some of the bubbles, as well as helps form that nice dome, but I'm not really pressing very hard onto my board, because if I pressed really hard when I was bouncing it, it'll squish out the edges, so we don't want that to happen. Now I am going to just use the very light purple, so I'm just making sure I've got the lids on properly, and do some little walking of the dots, and I'm going to go with, I think, the white tool, big end, and we're just going to do 1, 2, 3 will be enough. Just to bring some white up through the design as well, I'm just going to put a white dot in the middle here, and go with the in-between size of the clear flat end tool. So I'm using my guidelines as best I can, just helps keep it aligned. Some of it does end up being a little bit out, but you don't really notice, I think, once you've finished everything and wiped the guidelines off. Alright, so I think I will go with another yellow size dot, and going with that lighter purple again, so I know that, yes, the lighter purple is going to be actually, no, I won't. I'm going to do a big dot first to see what that's going to be like. So I'm going to go with my large one, and that will fit nicely right in between those two lines, and I can use my guideline. Remember, when you're using this big tool, very slowly so it doesn't all squish out everywhere. just doing a little up and down movement just so it gets that nice dome in the middle. So these patterns are quite basic, but they really help you get to know your dotting tools and using your guidelines for the alignment. And I think too, it's not overwhelming because you're only working on a small piece. Alright, so then I'm going to go just thinking how I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this next dot out onto halfway up, so it's just it comes up a little bit higher than that one. So I'm going to go with my yellow tool, and now I have to use my eye to line it up in line with that one. So I find it's easiest to have it coming straight towards you, so then you can get it in the right spacing. Okay, so now I'm just going to do some walking dots down the center here with the blue swirly tool, and going with that lighter shade. I'm going to do the same, so I can fit 4 this time. I could probably do 5 because I just put that in the wrong spot. That's okay, we'll go make sure we do the next one. So when you're walking your dots, it's important to have enough paint. I sort of swirl it around in the little tub. And I'm not pushing really hard, but am applying a lot more pressure than I do with the big one to get those nice, consistent little plump walkie dots. All right, now I want a larger dot on the top of these big ones. So I'm going to put them on and then we're going to let that dry so then I can think about what we're going to do on the next layer. So I'm going to go with the middle colour and the in-between clear tool. Just go around and put those on top of each of the darker purple. Oh, I'm just going to fit. Actually, I might just put the other 2 dots there as well, so then that can be nice and dry when I do the walkie the dots later. So just using the next tool size down. And we just want that to come down a little bit on the from that big dot. Okay, if you stop the video here, we'll let that layer dry and then come back to do our first layer of top dots. Okay, our first layer is dry, so we're going to do our top dots next. I'm just going to build up my darker purple. I'll do some layers in the tones, so we'll go with the next tone of purple. And I usually go down 1 or 2 tool sizes, so I'm going to go down this one to the pink because I need to do a few layers on this one, so just go down and add that in. So that one is only 1 tool size down from the one we did use. Now this lighter purple, I'm just going to only do 1 layer on here, so I'm just going to add the lightest purple, and I'll go down, I might go to the next one. So the middle of the tools. And then again to that lighter, the in-between purple, sorry. Go down to the blue for that one. And then on our big one, we will use, I'm going to go to the pink. And that's just going to give me a little bit more purple around the outside. That's a little bit wonky. Don't need to do another dot. Now this time I'm actually going to go, just to change it up a little bit, do the darker one on there. So just go the opposite way to what we have been. And I'm just going to put my dark ones up here. So we'll just use the smallest tool in the clear to do that middle big dot. And then I'm going to go with the blue twirly tool and just re-dipping each one. Okay, I'm going to leave that layer to dry, and then when we come back we can do our next layer of top dots and then the walking the dots around the big one as well. So let that layer dry and stop the video, and I will see you shortly. Alright, we're doing our next layer of top dots, so I'll start from the center. I'm just going to go with that lighter purple. Now I'm going to leave this one and I'll come back to that and decide if I want to do anything on that. So then we're going to another one which is using that lighter purple and just the middle tool of the clear tools. And then for our next one in this big one, using the purple tool. We're going to do the walking the dots before we do that final one. So that one's a little bit off center. Let's place another one on top. Oh, wrong one. Alright, I'm going to go with my blue dotting tool, the rounded edge, using the big, oh goodness me, there we go, we don't chuck it away. Oops, we have a spillage. Luckily, it all cleans off pretty easily. I'll just redot that one. Oh, doesn't quite like it. Oh, that's with white. Goodness me. Need to pay attention. Well, it's good for you to see some mistakes. So I can wipe that off straight up. How's that? There we go, we wouldn't even know that we did that. Okay, walking the dots, making sure you have actually, because that's quite a big dot, we'll just see if we're going to fit enough around it. Beautiful, so we'll fit 8. I like to count. That's not quite enough paint, so just make sure you get enough paint on either side. Not quite loading that. Whoop, that one's a bit big. I might just make that other side a little bit bigger to even it up. I find everybody loves doing walking the dots in classes. I think they're quite relaxing. Okay. All right, we'll just come back and do our I was going to do another dot on there, but I might actually leave it so we've got that nice dark purple. And instead, we're just going to do some little, 3 little dots on top. And just looking, because I've got in quite close, we might just use the same blue tool. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. So we're just making a nice little triangle on top, which is a little bit hard here. So we'll just fit 2. So it came out a bit close. I do actually think I'm going to put a darker dot on that middle one, on the first layer, sorry. Just using that one, and I'll just have to be careful because everything else is wet. And just to bring that dark in again, I have got a little space here. So I'm just going to put another dark one in there. So that will just bring in that purple. So then we can see in the design we've got the dark there, and finish with the dark up here. Alright, so this, you can either leave it like this, and so then when it dries, wipe off all the guidelines. However, just stop the video, come back when yours is dry, and I'm going to remove the guidelines and assess whether I want to add another layer of white dots to some of them and show you what that can look like. So I'll see you back here when yours is dry. Okay, so everything is dry, so we can remove our guidelines, just wiping over with a wet cloth. Sometimes you get little fluffy bits stuck on there. Oops, a little bit of paint that was wet there. Alright, so here you can decide, do you want to leave it as is or do you want to add some extra dots in? Now the white can actually really bring out more of the purple, so I'm just going to add some white highlight dots. Actually might make that cup a little bit bigger. And that's off center. Just do another one. And I'm also going to come in and add some tiny little dots just in these ones. So we're just going to go around with white using the pink tool with the smallest end this time, because we just want little dots, and we're just going to double dot in between those purple. Actually, it does look a little bit funny with the one that has the walking the dots. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove all of it because I just smudged it. It's great you get to see all these mistakes I make. Okay, just move around to where it's a bit drier. So I'm just going to put those dots under each of those bigger ones. Now the trick is, as I always say, less is best. So at this point you don't want to go crazy and think, oh, I've got all this space, I need to fill it in, because then it ends up just looking like dots everywhere. So be strategic about what you are actually adding to it now. So I've done the white dot in the middle, and I think I will just put white on these large ones just to tie that in. All right, there we go. There we have a monochromatic purple design. Looks pretty cool. So you can do that with any colors. So then you only need one color and white. It's a really easy but effective way to do a design. I hope you enjoyed that pattern, and I can't wait to see what color you choose for yours, and pop it in the Facebook group so we can all check it out.